Hi everyone. So I've been using this 15 Pro for a couple of days. So by no means this is a full review, but I will give you enough information so that you can make an informed decision. There are a lot of things that impressed me, but there are some things that I'm concerned about. Let's talk about the good things. I know titanium build has been a controversial topic since its launch and durability has been a concern as well. But there are a lot of good things that comes with it. The phone feels light and really good in the hands. Is it as premium as stainless steel? Probably not, and I know a lot of people prefer the heft of it, but this is a welcome change for me. The phone feels really light, and also the rounded edges make it feel more comfortable in the hand. I love the rounded corners, and it made the phone much easier to use without a case, at least for the smaller Pro. But with the durability concern of that glass after watching Jerry Rig video, I would definitely recommend a case. But there is one good thing that came out of it, that the glass is not attached to the stainless steel this time, so the replacement cost is much less. I mean, my friend has 13 Pro with the broken back glass, and if he wants to replace it, the cost will be as much as he can get in the replacement of that phone. So it rather use it at home because it's still 13 Pro. So I think that's one part that is really good about this. But yeah, it might be a little bit weaker because titanium can be strong, but glass is still glass. Display is something where you won't see any changes except the bezels, which only looks good when you're not using a case, but with a case, it looks kind of similar. But the display itself is great, it's really bright under sunlight. So no point mentioning all of this because it's basically same as last year except the bezels. Now there are some concern about the heating issues because of that new A17 Pro with 3 nanometer architecture and having that titanium build which gets hot really easy. Uh, I think it has blown out of proportion in many ways. I know a lot of people are complaining that their phone is overheating, but I don't think it's any different than last year 14 Pro. I think my 14 Pro was getting much hotter than this one. So for me, it has been almost similar or less than that. So I did not face any of the issue. But this is just me and everyone has different use case. So I would suggest like checking out with other reviewers. And if you find more people complaining about it, then don't go for it. The reason I'm saying this because I've recorded a log video in a daylight with 5G on and it was barely warm, and even if it was getting hot when I was using phone continuously with that camera, it was never difficult to touch, so and it never stuttered as well. So I don't think there is a problem with the titanium build itself. I'm sure it will get warm, but it was never uncomfortable. The efficiency is something that I'm worried about. I was expecting a little bit more battery life from 15 Pro, but that's not the case. It could be the same reason when the 14 Pro was launched and iOS 16 was there and the battery life was not really good. Could be the case with iOS 17 as well. But I'm going to wait for a little bit more before giving my final verdict. I can still get 8 hours off screen on time with Wi-Fi and 6 hours with the mixed usage, 50% on Wi-Fi, 50% on 5G, which is not bad by any means, but it's not something great either. And Apple has started showing standby time in SOT, which is misleading as well. So I turned off the standby to get these final numbers. The other small update is that the 15 Pro series has Wi-Fi 6E, but my friend tried with his Wi-Fi 6E router and he was not able to get the connection with the 6 gigahertz. This was the same case with M2 Pro when they were launched, and also there are not so many routers out there with 6E, so it's a decent update, but probably in future it might be more useful. But the biggest update this year, and this is something I always cried about after I switched from Android phone, the lack of USB-C. Carrying a separate cable or asking people, hey, do you have the iPhone charger, was the most silly thing a person can do. Now, last weekend when I went home with this phone, I did not bring any extra cable or even charger. I used my father's Pixel charger and slept like a baby. I know it's not fast, it's going to take the similar time. You can use any PD charger with it, but baby steps. Now with the Pro version, you can also get the USB 3 speeds, and this is why I think this is actually a Pro device. Before that, you need to have a bigger storage version to even get the ProRes, and even if you could record it, the transferring speed was really slow. But now you can easily attach a SSD or card reader with a normal SD card, and you can just record the ProRes video 4K 60 in log directly to a USB device. If that is not a Pro feature, I don't know what is. And now the last change, which I think is a major upgrade from last year, it is the cameras. But no, I'm not talking about the 5x zoom, which is limited to Pro Max. I'm talking about the overall camera's improvement. I am really happy with 3x. That 77 or even 75 focal length is great for portraits, and I'm happy with that. The area where I actually felt the improvements is going to be the HDR. I think the improvements are huge. These are some samples where I felt iPhone 14 Pro could have ruined the shots easily. And even the auto portrait mode has been a great move as well. I know Android users, it has been on Android phone for a long time, but now iOS have it too. So let everyone be happy. But seriously, this year I feel like I can finally use an iPhone camera. Last year I barely used 14 Pro cameras, they were not really great. The close focusing distance is still the issue with this, like last year iPhone 14 Pro. So it will automatically switch to that macro mode, which was the issue I had last year as well. Because the macro lens is fine, but the main sensor is main sensor. It is not a 7 lens setup like Apple said, but I appreciate adding the 28 and 35 focal length. I always felt the main lens was a bit wider for my liking, and I've been saying that from iPhone 12. Now I always go back to 35 to click a human subject. You can set it to default if you want. The last update, which is also good, is the default 24 MP mode. Now iPhone can easily shoot in 24 megapixel, which is like binning from 48 to 24, and it is really fast. There is no shutter lag as well. I also tried it with the Pro Max 48 MP HFIF high efficiency photo. I did not see major difference, so I will stick to that 24 megapixel camera. So my final verdict is, even though it is a great Pro phone and this is what iPhone 14 Pro should have been, I would still ask a lot of people, especially who are not in US, to get the iPhone 15, because you will get the 90% of the same phone in that phone. I mean, even the back is matte glass now, which was the main reason I switched to iPhone 14 Pro, because I didn't want to use a glass back. I use my phone without cases, and this like doesn't get fingerprints or scratches. And now this is the case with iPhone 15 as well. When I went to the Apple store to pick up my phone, I held the iPhone 15 and I felt like, oh, I could have gone with this phone, because I didn't know this is going to feel exactly same as this phone, which was never the case with the previous phones. And if you're not worried about that high refresh rate and you never used it, I think iPhone 15 is a great phone. You also get that 48 megapixel camera, which can compensate with that 2x telephoto with the actual 3x telephoto, and you're not going to miss a lot of things. The ultra wide is kind of similar, so I think the upgrades are huge. You're getting rid of that notch as well, so there's that dynamic island, and you also get that 2000 nits peak brightness. So I think the iPhone 15 is a much better upgrade than this phone this year. I still have to do a lot of testing before giving my final review and verdict about this phone. And I'm also really excited about comparing this phone with the upcoming Pixel 8 and 8 Pro. So if you want to watch that, please subscribe to my channel. Even if you don't want to, thanks for your valuable time. Please like the video if you actually enjoyed it. My name is Rohit. I'll see you next one. Till then.